Not to mention free refreshment!
Welcome everyone to my new series, which I guess implies I have other non-animation projects that I upload here, and in a perfect world, I would, considering one of them has been over a year overdue. Anyway, this is my series Vex Views Dex. Just gonna give you a minute to really soak in that name, because it took me way longer to think of than it should have been. Look, with a username as long as mine because some mofo hacked my old account, it doesn't give me a lot of wiggle room in the way of cute, catchy, and simple names for things. Anyway, in Vex Views Dex, I go over an archetype in everyone's favorite overly complex, imbalanced, power-creeping children's card game, YuGiOh. Archetype review videos on this site are surprisingly scarce, or at least the ones that didn't just drop off after a couple episodes, it seems. Granted, the, 2 that are still around are real good, but you just think that with the YuGiOh community on YouTube being diverse enough to get the name YuGiTuber, that archetype review videos would be more common. Or maybe it's just they are called their videos bland stuff like Kaiju Review or something, rather than a cute, catchy, and simple name like Archetype Archive. Anyway, this is how these videos go down. I'll talk about the archetype's conceptual design, the pack history of it, the playstyle of it, the competitive relevancy of it, any appearances in the anime, manga, or lore in the card game itself, and my personal thoughts on the archetype as a whole. Then I'll go through the cards one by one, reviewing and riffing on each of them like the episodes of a cancelled cartoon I still need to finish getting through. And yeah, that makes 2 different YuGiOh things I'm now doing, and while this one is the least exciting of the 2, I can't fill up animated duels with sarcastic analysis of the decks being played. At least not completely. So it's time to get into the spirit of things with spirits! Design. Spirits are based on elements of Eastern mythology, namely Japanese mythology, such as characters, creatures, and objects. In addition, they all have the same blue glowy vortex background, even in their support cards, which the wiki refers to as the spirit world. Something something avatar reference something something. Spirits debuted in Legacy of Darkness way back in 2003. These brought the initial wave of classic spirit monsters that like to stay on the field, such as Asura Priest, Yamada Dragon, Hino Kagutsuchi, and, of course, Yatagarasu. It also brought their half-ass support cards, and Creature Swap, which might as well be Spirit support. Darkness Spirit and Tsukuyomi came soon after in their own packs. It seemed like Spirits passed on after that, but 5 years later, in 2008 with the Duelist Genesis, a bit of life was breathed into Spirits with guys like Izanami and Izanagi. Also, the support cards were slightly less half-assed since last time. From then on, a really amazing spirit or 2 would appear in a pack here and there, such as Nikki Tama, Aurra Tama, and Yaksha. But this stopped in 2013. In 2016, Ami was randomly dropped to remind everyone that spirits were still a thing that happened. It wasn't until 2017 when spirits would get major focus in Raging Tempest. This pack introduced the Shinobirds. Shinobirds are not technically an archetype, because they support all spirit monsters, not just other Shinobirds. It's just a damn shame that all their non-ritual monsters ended up being total ass. Nowadays, it seems like spirits are going back to their trickling appearances like between 2009 and 2013. Circuit Break gave us Amano Iwado in 2017, and Extreme Force in 2018 gave us fucking spirit pendulum monsters. Thanks for that, TCG, that's just what everyone needed. Playstyle. Spirits have a very unique way of working. They aren't actually an archetype so much as they are a different category of monster, like Tuner and Union. All spirit monsters contain the following effect. This card cannot be special summoned. This card returns to its owner's hand during the end phase of the turn and is normal summoned or flip face up. This means that spirits are a very slow deck, and even if they didn't return to the hand during the end phase, the requirement of being normal summoned makes it near impossible for them to swarm the field. To compensate for this, most spirits have very strong effects, and rather than focusing on destruction, they have alternate ways of removing the opponent's cards. In addition, the effect of returning to the hand means you'll always have a supply of monsters that are pretty much completely untouchable by your opponent on their turn. Competitiveness. Due to their slow and steady playstyle, spirits didn't have any competitive impact. They did show up every once in a while in 2014, such as making the top 8s in a couple of Michigan regionals, and even placing first in the Michigan State Championship. Good job, Michigan, for getting into the spirit of things. However, these decks pretty much only ran Nikki Tama and Aurra Tama, with maybe a Yaksha or two. To me, that ain't a spirit deck. That's a rank 4 engine that just so happens to use 2 spirit monsters. Appearances. Spirits made their one appearance in the anime by everyone's favorite virtual reality punk-ass kid with a god complex, Noah Kaiba. He used them in his duel with Yugi using his deck master that had nothing to do with spirits at all. With that being said, Noah used a surprisingly large number of spirits in that duel, which is more than can be said for a lot of number of one-shot protagonists in the series. Also, it was the duel where Yugi used that bullshit anime version of Card of Sanctity to pull off this really fucking awesome combo involving Polymerization, Blue Eyes, and Defusion to one-shot Noah. My thoughts. I really freaking love spirits. Definitely my favorite deck in the game. Their artwork, their effects, their uniqueness, the level of strategy that goes into them, it's all just amazing. Not to mention it's fun as hell kicking the ass of people who underestimate spirits, or hear them groan when I jack their monster with creature swap. The cards. Now to the monsters, spells, and traps of the archetype. For the monsters, I'll do the regular spirits first and then the Shino birds. While technically the second in the monster lineup, I figured we would start off with a spirit monster almost all of you are familiar with as a result of it being one of the most broken cards in the game. Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu, as in all one word, was a 3-legged crow that was a symbol of divine guidance. Sounds nice, right? Anyway, he's a level 2 winged fiend monster, because being winged beast is too mainstream, I guess, with 200 attack and 100 defense. With stats like those, he should really be a level 1. You too good to follow standard stat level rules, you little purple punk? Well, as a matter of fact, yes, he is too good. Like, way too good. So good that he and a Dragon of Chaos are believed to be responsible for the creation of the forbidden part of the banned list, which this crow has been perched on ever since 2004. Why? Well, let's finally get down to this little guy's effect. His effect is, when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they skip their next draw phase. That may not sound so bad nowadays, what with all the searching and graveyard effects and such, but back in the day, this was huge. The draw phase was really the only time most decks could generate real card advantage, and not being able to draw was essentially stopping you from getting any new resources for a turn. But Vex, this little birdie only has 200 attack, what harm could it do? Why should I be scared of something that can't even get over Frog the Slime Toad? Well, weird strawman argument that is unfamiliar enough with Yu-Gi-Oh! To not be aware of its dark history, yet somehow knowledgeable enough of the game to be aware of the recent name changes of a card? I'll tell you. Remember that Dragon of Chaos I mentioned? Well, to be precise, that's Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. I'm just gonna go over his effect because this is a spirit video, not a chaos video. Its effect is, cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. You can pay 1000 life points, send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the graveyard. Then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card sent to the graveyard by this effect. Basically, this is how it would go down. You have out Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest, either of which let you search for Yada when they are sent from the field to the graveyard. You summon this big guy, use his effect to blow up the hands and fields, search Yada, and then proceed to peck your opponent's life points down to nothing for 40 turns, since you are just going to keep normal summoning him over and over, while your opponent just has to lie down and take it. Or scoop, like VIA would do in some of the video games. They eroded Chaos Emperor Dragon in the OCG, where your opponent only loses life points for each of their cards sent, and preventing you from activating other effects that turn. It's a pretty fair nerf, I'd say. Keeps the basic function of the card without completely butchering it into a pathetic mess of its former self. Ain't that right, Sinister Serpent and Crush Card Virus? If they were to Yatagarasu, that's cute wordplay, right? I'd change it so the opponent couldn't draw cards or add cards from their deck to their hand on their next turn when he inflicts battle damage, except on their normal draw during their draw phase. Still stuns your opponent without totally locking them out. Anyway, let's get back to the rest of the spirits. Next is Kinkabe, who is based on the Bakaniko, which is a cat that's been turned into a yokai. If you look closely, you can see a cute little white kitten where that Tailipo monstrosity is emerging from. It's a level 1, dark, beast monster with 400 attack and 200 defense. Its effect is, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can target one level 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon that target, but banish it when this card leaves the field. Now this obviously doesn't help out spirits directly, but there are some cute combos you can pull off with this guy. For example, you could use it with Mystic Piper or the Blackstone Legend, or even Thousand Eyes Restrict. Because not only does this guy let the summon monster keep its effects, but that monster only gets banished when Kinkabe leaves the field. That means if you have a way to remove the summon monster, you can keep doing this over and over again. There's nothing to say within the context of spirits, but if you want to do some shenanigans with level 1 monsters, give this cat a call. Next is Ohto Hime. Get a load of this Padme looking bitch. Why the hell is she the only spirit to get alternate artwork? Ohto Hime is based on the goddess Toyote Hime, which means luminous jewel, not luminous truck. She was the daughter of the sea deity and married Prince Hori, but went back to live with her dad after her hubby broke his promise of not spying on her giving birth. Yeesh. She's a level 3 light spellcaster monster with 0 attack and 100 defense. Wait, what? Why the fuck is the monster with stats barely going past the bare fucking minimum level 3? Anyway, get ready for this one. Her effect is, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can target one face up monster your opponent controls. Change that target's battle position. Wow. Just fucking wow. A monster with an effect that can be accomplished by fucking block attack. And she can't even take advantage of that effect because she's got 0 freaking attack points. Ohto Hime. More like Noto Hime. Next is Inaba White Rabbit. Aw, look at that little bunny holding onto his firework thing. It's based off of the hair of Inaba, which is basically the story of an injured flayed hare that comes across Okuni Nushi and brothers traveling through the Inaba region. It asks them for help, and Okuni Nushi's brothers pretty much tell it to go fuck itself. Okuni Nushi, however, advises him to heal himself by rolling in cattail pollen. This restores the hare's fur because of magic plans, and the hare reveals its true form as a deity. For his act of kindness, the bunny god tells Okuni Nushi that he will marry Princess Yakami. Anyway, Inaba White Rabbit is a level 3 Earth Beast monster with 700 attack and 500 defense. Its effect lets it attack directly. Underwhelming as fuck, I know, but back in the day when direct attackers were limited to monsters like Queen's Double and Mystic Lamp, 700 attack was quite high. Next is Nikki Tama. At first it looks just like a green fireball, but when you look closer you see a little alien guy inside there. Look how happy he is! And he has every reason to be, because Nikki Tama is freaking good. Nikki Tama is based off of Nikki Tama, spelled with a G, which is the representation of calm, collected, and tranquil emotions. Nikki Tama is a level 4, light, fairy monster with 800 attack and 1800 defense. Its effect is, during the turn this card was normal summoned or flip face up, you can normal summon one spirit monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. When this card is sent to the graveyard, draw one card. You must control a spirit monster to activate and to resolve this effect. The Evil Swarm caster effect alone is already a godsend to spirits. Not only does that let them get out their tribute monsters a lot easier, but thanks to Nikki's level, it allows for rank 4 summoning. The draw effect is just the icing on the freaking cake. Keep in mind it's like Dandelion, so no matter if he is sent from the field, tributed, milled, discarded, or even detached from an Ixies monster, you get the draw as long as you got another spirit monster out. Always run 3 of this little guy. Always! Nikki Tama also combos perfectly with the next spirit monster. Next is Aurra Tama. He looks like a floating devil head, but just like Nikki Tama, if you look closely, you can see another little alien guy inside of it. I don't know if he's meant to look pissed off or just pumped up and ready for anything. Aurra Tama is the representation of explosive, energetic, and angry emotions. So yeah, he could either be pissed or pumped. He's a level 4 dark fiend monster with 800 attack and 1800 defense. Sort of like a parallel to Nikki Tama. His effect is, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can add one spirit monster from your deck to your hand. Except Aurra Tama. Not much to say here other than Stratos every turn! A searcher you can spam over and over again. And then use as rank 4 fodder with Nikki Tama means you should always be running 3 of this guy as well. Coming off the heels of those two amazing spirits is Gandhari. I know he looks really cool, but trust me, he ain't. Also, take note that he has freaking snakes for wristbands. Don't know why the hell he's holding a pirate ship's steering wheel, though. Gandhari is one of the 5 wisdom kings in Buddhism, and dispenses the nectar of immortality called Amrita. Seriously, there's like no info on this guy. And Wikipedia doesn't even think that article is a stub. Anyway, he's a level 4 fire pyro monster with 1000 attack and 200 defense. Jeez, you'd think a buff 6-armed guy who uses snakes as a fashion statement would be a hell of a lot stronger. His effect is, if this card battles a synchro monster, return both monsters to their owner's hands at the start of damage step, without damage calculations. Wow, what sort of mechlord garbage heap did this guy crawl out from? Amusingly enough though, I'd say he's better than most of the mechlord cards. But that ain't saying shit. She's just an awful version of Neospatian Grand Mole, so just use that. You know, the one good Neospatian. Here's another spirit monster many of you might be familiar with, Tsukuyomi. Oh, and by the way, if you think Suk looks like a tough, attractive gal, I got news for ya. Suk's the guy.
And just like that, I'm gay.
Tsukuyomi is based off of the god of the moon. And yes, that is the best picture I could find of him that doesn't involve Mangekyo Sharingan. And if you need any more evidence of Tsuk being a dude, if you look closely at his artwork, you can see his massive Adam's apple. He's a level 4 dark spellcaster monster with 1100 attack and 1400 defense. His effect is, if this card is normal summoned or flip face up, target one face up monster on the field. Change that target to face down defense position. The reason you might know this guy is for a long time, he was up there with Yada on the forbidden list. Why? Tsuk's effect allowed you to reuse the effects of flip monsters, namely Magician of Faith and Mask of Darkness, which allows you to recycle spells and traps like Swords of Revealing Light and Time Seal. He spent 12 formats up there before finally getting freed, because nowadays, flip effects are just considered too slow to abuse like that. Next up is Izanami, who looks like she's trying her hardest not to smile. She is the wife of Izanagi and the goddess of creation and death. She is a level 4, and for some odd reason, water, fairy monster with 1100 attack and 1800 defense. Her effect is, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can discard one card to add one spirit monster from your graveyard to your hand. This is great card recycling, especially since, unlike her husband, doesn't require a spirit monster as a cost. Unlike just about every other deck in existence, spirits don't have any benefits from being in the graveyard, so this is a great way to put them to use again. You can even set up a cute draw engine with her by cycling between 2 copies of Nikki Tama. Kind of a shame she isn't a little stronger, but I consider running one of her. Next is Fushi no Tori. Wait, Tori? Like Yuma's not girlfriend Tori? No, Tori like a phoenix crossed with a goose. Its name roughly translates into Bird of Immortality. It's a level 4, fire, winged beast with 1200 attack and 0 defense. Aw, look at that, he's almost a Fire King! Its effect is, when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, increase your life points by an equal amount. So I assume I'm supposed to use this goose as a direct attacker, right? And getting a whopping Poison of the Old Man boost from wasting my normal summon doing so? Seriously, even back, this was shit. So if you want an answer on whether or not you should run this thing, it's right there in its name. Next is Maharagi. Look at me when I'm talking to you! I don't need your little transparent face overlay shit either. Act like you're going for a solo album or some shit weird fucking clay doll thing. Anyway, it and clay doll are based off of the same thing, dogu, which means clay figure. They were like a fad during the Jomon period of prehistoric Japan or something. It's a level 4 earth rock monster with 1200 attack and 1700 defense. So piss low defense for a rock monster, huh? This is why you don't set your spirit monsters, folks. Its effect is, if this card is normal summoned or flip face up, look at one card on the top of your deck during your next draw phase, before you draw, and return the card to either the top or the bottom of your deck. So it takes nearly a full turn for the effect to go off, and what you get is some wannabe pot of duality shit. He's not on the level of Ohto Hime or Fushi no Tori, but still, he's not very good. Next is Resetsu. Ew, look how gross this thing is. It looks like a re-dead from The Legend of Zelda with flamey hair and thick hips. I didn't even realize this thing was like human at first. I thought that sword and little slash thing near its hair were weird claws, and that ribbon was a big tail. Resetsu is based off of the Rakshaka, which are described as cannibalistic, gross, lumbering beasts that drink blood from human skulls. Yeesh. It's a level 4 fire fairy monster, because Konami forgot about the zombie type when making this thing, with 1500 attack and 1900 defense. Its effect is, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can reveal one spirit monster from your hand, except Resetsu. Then target one face-up attack position monster your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this effect. Okay, I'm torn about Resetsu, honestly. It's literally a spammable Compulse with a reveal cost that was easy to fulfill. Yeah, remember Compulse? That trap card that everybody used to use because fuck your extra deck monsters? But now it's way too slow and most boss monsters have targeting immunity? Ah, power creep. Speaking of power creep, around the time he came out, which was in freaking Shadow Specters, with Hat, Pendulum, and Shadows right around the corner, he was good. However, just like Compulse, he became worse as time went on. In fact, he actually aged worse than Compulse because of all the restrictions on him. The reveal cost is fine. The attack position thing is kind of a bummer though. Most spirits don't have the raw numbers and stats to plow through things by battle. And if your opponent has some wall up and you don't have the right spirits for the job, you could just be sitting there with your thumb up your ass and a Resetsu in your other hand. The special summon restriction is what really hurts Resetsu though. Spirits may not special summon, but that restriction is completely unnecessary. The reveal cost is just fine enough. I feel like summoning Nikki Tama, then this guy, bouncing a boss monster, then overlaying for a rank 4 is perfectly fine for a spirit power play. Also keep in mind that one of the archetypes on the heels of Resetsu were the wannabe spirits, Yosenju. One of them, Yosenju Kama Itachi, or as he was creatively localized as, Yosenju Kama 1. He could bounce any face-up enemy card once as long as you controlled another Yosenju monster. Then you could just overlay into Lightning Chidori or some shit, and that was just fine. So yeah, Resetsu had his 15 minutes of fame, but nowadays not only is he too slow and restrictive, but he is outclassed even in the context of spirits. These three I'm just gonna gloss over here. Gishki Amelia, Gishki Natalia, and Sacred Spirit of the Ice Barrier are all freaking spirit monsters because lore. I'll cover them if I ever get to Vex View's decks on Gishkis or Ice Barriers. Next is Asura Priest, who not only has 6 arms but 3 faces. Asuras are multi-armed Hindu deities, some of which are good and some of which are evil. He's a level 4 light fairy monster with 1700 attack and 1200 defense. His effect lets him attack all your opponent's monsters. Nowadays that doesn't sound very impressive, but just like Inaba White Rabbit, this was powerful back in the day. He could get rid of your opponent's goat tokens, clear away their mystic tomatoes, or even kill fucking Vanaminaga if you used Honest. Also, I'm not gonna lie, this guy is hella fun to use against Gustos. Kick some bird ass! Anyway, he's another spirit who was great back in the day but has fallen from grace. Oh, and one more thing. You may think it can attack everything because of all those arms, but if the anime is anything to go by, he actually throws fucking swords to attack. Next is Hebo, Lord of the River, aka Kappa Grandpa. He's named after the god of the Yellow River. Also, he ain't offering you an orange, that's a Shirikodama. Okay, just gonna go off on a tangent here and tell you that Kappas are terrifying in actual mythology. Don't let cute characters like Ludicolo, Ludo, or Dendi, who has much of a Kappa as Hungry Burger is a warrior, fool you. Kappas will lure people into water just to drown them and eat their livers. Or worse, stealing their souls for power, which is what the Shirikodama Hebo is holding is. Oh, and the Shirikodama is located in the anus, because this is Japan we're talking about here. So just imagine a power-hungry duck man waterboarding you and then ripping out your soul through your prostate. Hebo is a level 4 water aqua monster with 1800 attack and 600 defense. Hey, that's some high attack. Guess those anus soul balls are really paying off, Gramps. His effect is, if this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can target one face up monster on the field. That target is treated as a spirit monster. Also return that target to the hand during the end phase. So he literally turns other monsters into ghosts. That's actually a really fun effect, especially combined with kaijus. Keep in mind, even if Hebo leaves the field, that monster is still returned to the hand. Also, we can make a cute combo with a certain draw power card we'll get to. So this guy is the big reason why I'm torn about Rasetsu. YuGiOh seems better than Rasetsu in every way, right? Great attack, no cost or summoning restriction, can target defense mode guys, or even your own non-spirits if you need to. However, Rasetsu has one thing over this guy: instant satisfaction. Getting rid of a boss monster on the spot, compared to having to pretty much skip your turn to do so, is a big advantage. However, at the end of the day, I think I'd give YuGiOh a try over Rasetsu. YuGiOh just has more uses, and spirit decks aren't unheard of skipping their turn anyway because of creature swap shenanigans. However, even YuGiOh himself is outclassed by a boss monster we will be getting to. Next is Amano Iwado. This spirit is just a big dumb rock cave thing. It's like Squidward's house mid-construction. It's based off of the cave where Amaterasu hid herself in after she and Susanoo got in a fight, which is literally the equivalent of locking herself in the bathroom and crying. Also, since she was the sun goddess, the world was without light. Dramatic much, Amy? Amano is a level 4 Earth rock monster with 1900 attack and 1200 defense. Yep, because somehow it's a Kawakimeru monster, despite being a big dumb cave rather than a gigantic golem. Seriously, how does this thing even attack? Does it have Amy stick her head out and sneeze out a solar flare or something? Well, it's not just its attack that's good, because its effect prevents non-spirit monsters from activating their effects. Yeah, definitely a Kawakimeru monster of a different name, eh? I don't think I need to explain why stopping all of your opponent's guys from being able to use their abilities is amazing. And it's not just from the field either. The hand, the graveyard, the banish zone, you name it. If you ain't a spirit, Amano ain't allowing it. This thing is definitely the go-to spirit to summon with the effects of the 2 boss monsters we will get into. Run at least 2 of this thing. Just be careful with your battle faders. Next is Yaksha. He's like the perfect balance of ugly and cool. Also, if you look closely, I think he has a broom mustache. Also, does he have a tail or is that just a flowing garment? Yaksha are nature spirits who perfect treasures hidden in the forest. In other words, they're these characters from Dreamscape. Also, Yakshas are comparable to Rakshas, which is actually carried over into YuGiOh. Yaksha is a level 4, water, fairy monster with 1900 attack and 1500 defense. Notice how its stats are the reverse of Rasetsu's, and how its water attribute is the opposite of Rasetsu's fire, and also how they are both butt-ugly fairy monsters? His effect is, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can target one spell or trap your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand. See? Even his effect is a counterpart to Rasetsu's. And unlike Rasetsu, this effect works on set cards. Now, bouncing back row doesn't sound as appealing as destroying it, I know. After all, your opponent can literally just use it again next turn. However, this effect is not to be underestimated. Not only can it temporarily get rid of Floodgates, which can really disrupt if they happen to be trap cards, but it can also get rid of a protective equipped card, or just blindly bounce a possible Mirror Force or something. Combine that with a sweet 1900 attack, and Yaksha is definitely a spirit you should run at least one of. Next is Souza Soldier, not to be confused with the White Sox player Sammy Sosa. And why does he have his neck stretched out like that? Is he about to slit his throat with his sword? Buddy, you're a spirit, you're already dead. I'm pretty sure you can't kill yourself twice. Wait, I think I know what's going on. Look at that sensual expression on his face. I think someone is making him happy with their mouth right below about where his effect text is. Souza Soldier, is based off of Susanoo, who is the god of the sea and storms and Amy's bro. Souza is a level 4 Earth Thunder monster with 2000 attack and 1600 defense. Oh shit, with an attack score like that, what's the drawback? Wait, maybe he won't have a drawback. After all, he returns to the hand during the end phase, so that's probably good enough. Oh wait, never mind, all battle damage he inflicts is halved. Good grief, he could have just been a normie spirit monster and nobody still would have used him. Even as one of the OG spirits, this guy is just another one of those crappy goblin attack force monsters that Konami loved pushing out in the early 2000s.